Good morning, dear children. Greetings to you all. Welcome to our English class. Today we are going to see Unit 1 Poem. This poem is a memory poem. You have to memorize this poem. The title of the poem is Sea Fever, written by John Masefield. He has written about his experience. So now let us see something about him and the poem, about the poem. British poet John Edward Masefield was born in England on 1st June 1878. Besides being a poet, he was also a noted novelist, dramatist, and a journalist. At the age of 13, Masefield joined the British naval ship HMS Conway to be trained at sea as a merchant seaman. After his training, Masefield became an apprentice on a cargo ship sailing for Chile, which did not touch land for long 3 months. During this voyage, he had some trouble with seasickness and experienced sea storm. After spending many years on the ship, he left his ship in New York City in 1895 and worked there in a carpet factory before returning to London to write poems describing his experience at sea. Masefield was appointed British Poet Laureate in 1930 and he held the post till his death. He died on 12th May 1967. Now let us see about the poem. The poem Sea Fever by John Masefield appeared in his first book of poems entitled Salt Water Ballads, published in 1902. The poem Sea Fever by John Masefield appeared in his first book of poems entitled Salt Water Ballads, published in the year 1902. Children, see the sea fever, that is, sea under the quiet sky. He expresses his desire for the need of the well-built ship to sail and a star in the dark sky to act as a guide. The poem Sea Fever speaks of the excitement the poet feels at the anticipation of a journey across the sea. So he expresses his excitement, his feelings. Being a sailor, the poet enjoyed the wandering life on the lonely sea. In this poem, he expresses his strong desire for sailing once again in the lonely sea. So, he expresses his desire of wandering life on the lonely sea. It was his strong desire for sailing once again in the lonely sea. As he had once that experience, so he wanted to have one more experience in the wandering sea. You know, children, wandering, you go wherever you want in the sea, but it is a lonely sea under the sky, the grey sky or the blue sky. Sometimes it is grey, sometimes it is a blue sky. So he wanted the thirst and the passion for a sea voyage are central to the theme of the poem. The thirst and the passion for a sea voyage are central to the theme of the poem. That is the theme of the poem. He had the thirst, the passion of going once again to the lonely sea. Sometimes we too wander, wandering from one place to another, go from one to the other end, lonely, alone. Now he is going to the lonely sea. You know, when you look at the sea, sometimes it is with nobody on the sea. The poem also has a deep allegorical significance. The passionate descriptions of the seacape reveals the eternal desire of a man to seek the splendor of nature. He wanted to experience the splendor of the nature. That was his eternal desire. When you have that passionate love, the desire, and you want to achieve that. So he also wanted to achieve it once again. Already he had one experience. With that experience, he was enjoying it. So he wanted to have one more experience in that lonely sea. This is what all about John Masefield and about the poem Sea Fever. Now let us see about the sea fever. I will read and give you once first, then we'll see the explanation. After that, again you can listen to the audio and the video, you can see it. Okay, dear children? Now let me read for you.
Sea Fever by John Masefield. I must go down to the seas again, to the lonely sea and the sky, and all I ask is a tall ship and a star to steer her by, and the wheels kick and the wind's song and the white sails shaking, and a grey mist on the sea's face and a grey dawn breaking. I must go down to the seas again, for the call of the running tide is a wild call and a clear call that may not be denied. And all I ask is a windy day with the white clouds flying, and the flung spray and the blown spume and the seagulls crying. I must go down to the seas again, to the vagrant gypsy life, to the gull's way and the whale's way, where the wind's like a whetted knife. And all I ask is a merry yawn from a laughing fellow rower, and quiet sleep and a sweet dream when the long trick's over.
Now let me read and explain to you, dear children. This poem has 3 stanzas. That is, first 4 lines, then next 4 lines are second stanza, then the last 4 lines are third stanza. Okay, but here you can see here 2 paragraphs only. Okay, now let us see the first paragraph. I must go down to the seas again, to the lonely sea and the sky, and all I ask is a tall ship and a star to steer her by, and the wheels kick and the wind's song and the white sails shaking, and a grey mist on the sea's face and a grey dawn breaking. So dear children, sea under the quiet sky. The sea is under the quiet sky. He expresses his desire, his means the poet's desire, for the need of a well-built ship to sail and a star in the dark sky to act as a guide. Soon the adventures would begin, and as each day dawns, he wakes up the sea, the early grey mist rise from the sea. So this is what is trying to tell the poet is trying to express his feelings because he wants to go once again to the sea. In the first stanza, the poet expresses his strong desire for sailing once again into the lonely sea under the quiet sky. The poet is so passionate about the sea voyage that he cannot help going to the sea, hence he says, I must. The must. The poet doesn't say that I will go down to the sea or I shall go down to the sea again. But he says that I must go down to the sea again. He says that he wants to enjoy the jerking motion of the ship caused by the shaking of the ship's wheel against the waves of the sea. It is the force, the wheel against the sailor's hand. He also wants to enjoy the noise of the wind and the white sails of sea. He also wishes to see the appearance of the grey dawn amidst light grey fog hanging over the surface of the sea. So this is what he is trying to tell. In the poem, the poet expresses his strong desire to get back to the sea, as the call from the sea cannot be ignored or denied. He wishes that there would be strong winds that would blow away the thick white clouds in the sky and take the sail forward throughout the day. Watching from the shore fills his heart with the adventure and the spirit. Now let us see the next 4 lines. That is the second stanza. I must go down to the seas again, for the call of the running tide is a wild call and a clear call that may not be denied. And I will and all I ask is the windy day with the white clouds flying and the flung spray and the blown spume and the seagulls crying. Here he expressed the strong desire to get back to the sea because the sea is calling. He cannot be ignored or denied. He cannot deny the call from the sea. He wishes that there would be strong winds that would blow away the thick white clouds in the sky and take the sail forward throughout the day. His watching from the shore fills his heart with the adventure and the spirit. The poet passionately feels the call of the sea. It is a wild call, a frantic and distinct call, a clear call that cannot be denied. The poet cannot ignore the call of the sea. In his voyage, he wants to enjoy a windy day. He also wants to enjoy the loud call of the seagulls. That is what, children, he cannot deny the call because that is his feelings, his enjoyment. As I have told you, already he has gone once. So he wants to go once again to the sea. He wants to have that same experience which he had earlier. Maybe it was a good experience that he had. So he wants to have once again this experience. So now let us see the next 4 lines. That is the third stanza. So sometimes you also may be going to the sea, isn't it, children? You may be enjoying in the wave, in that water. But you may not be gone to that extent to the lonely sea where no one is there. to the far from the shore, the deep sea. When you see from the shore, you can see the sky. It is touching to the sea. You feel it. No? The blue sky or the grey sky, the white clouds coming together. You may be seeing, you see, the sky is touching to the sea, touching the water. But no. Only the sea is under the sky. It can be white sky or the blue sky, or it can be grey. Now let us see the third stanza, that is the last 4 lines. I must go down to the seas again, to the vagrant gypsy life, to the gulf's way and the whale's way, where the wind's like a whetted knife. And all I ask is a merry yarn from a laughing fellow rover, and quiet sleep and a sweet dream when the long trick's over. So dear children, this is the spume, the seagulls crying. They are wandering from one place to another place. So the same way, the poet also wants to go to the lonely sea. You know, as we have learned, the wandering singers, they go from one place to another place by singing, giving awareness. Now you also may be going from one place to another place. This is the seagulls that you can see in the sea. It lives in the sea only. And the whales. Sometimes some may be seen the whales and the gulls, but some may not be seen. Even I have also have not seen. Only in the images, the pictures we have seen. Directly we have not seen. So this is the whetted knife. You don't think that the real knife is used there in this story. Okay. Here the poet wanted to lead a wandering life of a gypsy. He wants to wander as free as the seagulls and the whales. He wants to go wherever he likes. The poet likes to hear a joyful story, a merry tale from his fellow sailor. After the long journey is over, he likes to have a quiet sleep and a sweet dream. He wants to have a merry life. He likes to hear a joyful story. The poet wants to hear a joyful story and a merry tale from his fellow sailor. And after a long journey is over, he likes to have a quiet sleep and a sweet dream. The poet would like to be a wandering gypsy, however he would miss the seagulls and the white whales, and most of all his time spent with his fellow men at the deck, listening to tales and good and silent sleep which drift into a sweet dream. So children, this poem clearly shows his Masefield had enjoyed his days on the sea, and he would like to have a part of it even after he has left it far behind following his passion. That is what he is trying to tell us. Now let us see from each stanza what he is trying to tell us. It is the summing up of the first stanza. The poet feels an irresistible desire to go to the sea once again. He expresses his desire for sailing in the lonely sea under the quiet sky. Okay, this is what he is trying to tell us. His desire to go to the lonely sea. For his voyage, he needs a well-built, that is the strong ship, and a star to guide the ship on the sea. Obviously, the poet wants the help of the pole star to direct the ship on the unknown sea. The poet also asks for the wheel of the ship striking against the rough sea. Here, the poet perhaps refers to the jerky motion of the ship on the sea. He wishes to hear the wind's song and the sea, the shaking of the white sails. For the smooth movement of the ship that has a sail, windy day is a must. In the third line, the poet expresses his desire for a smooth movement of his ship through the expressions like wheels kick, wind's song, and white sails shaking. The poet wants to sail throughout the whole day and night and see the grey mist covering up the surface of the sea at dawn. Surface of the earth at the dawn, the morning. Now let us see the second stanza. The poet must go down the sea again because the call of the running tide cannot be ignored. Here the expression call of the running tide refers to the frantic and distinct call of nature that entices the poet to embark on the journey once again. Being an experienced sailor, the poet knows the importance of wind on a sea voyage. So, poet wants a windy day to make his journey smooth. However, by the expression windy day, the poet obviously doesn't mean a stormy day with an overcast sky that will mar his journey. Rather, he wants a windy day accompanied by white clouds. He wants that there would be strong winds which will blow away white clouds in the sky and take the ship forward. The attractions of the sea are many. The poet wishes to see spray thrown up in the air and foam scattered on the surface of the sea during the forward movement of the ship. He also desires to hear the loud cries of the seagulls. Now let us see the third stanza summing up. The poet must go down the seas again to lead a free life like that of Gypsy. He wishes to wander about the sea as free as the seagulls and whales. He also welcomes the biting cold. He wants to go where the chilling wind would be as sharp as a knife. He wants to listen to a merry tale from a fellow sailor. The poet wishes to have a quiet sleep and a sweet dream when the long journey on the sea will be over. So dear children, this is what all about. Thus in this poem, the poet expresses his strong desire to embrace the adventurous life of a seafarer. Because of him, the attraction of the sea is irresistible. So this is what all about the poem, children. I hope you understood the poem. Okay. Now all the 3 stanzas of the poem begins with a common refrain, that is, I must go down to the seas again. The poet has repeated this expression to express his strong urge for a wandering life on the sea. In other words, the poet is in the grip of sea fever, and hence his wander thirst is irrepressible. Sea Fever is a lyrical poem. There are 3 stanzas, and each stanza has 2 rhyming couplets. Note the rhyming words in each stanza, that is sky, by, shaking, breaking, tide, denied, flying, crying, life, knife, rover, over. Significance of the title. The word fever in the title of the poem actually refers to an extreme excitement of or restlessness. The poet's strong desire for the sea voyage makes him restless. He can hardly resist the temptation of going to the sea because the call of the sea is
the poet's passion for the sea
irresistible.
is like a
Therefore,
fever.
the
In
title
other words,
Sea
the
Fever.
poet's mind is in the grip of a sea fever. So dear children, I hope that you understood the poem. Now you can listen to the poem that is expressed here.
I must go down to the seas again, to the lonely sea and the sky. And all I ask is a tall ship and a star to steer her by. And the wheels kick, and the wind's song, and the white sails shaking, and a grey mist on the sea's face, and a grey dawn breaking. I must go down to the seas again, for the call of the running tide is a wild call and a clear call that may not be denied. And all I ask is a windy day with the white clouds flying, and the flung spray, and the blown spume, and the seagulls crying. I must go down to the seas again, to the vagrant gypsy life, to the gull's way and the whale's way, where the wind's like a whetted knife. And all I ask is a merry yarn from a laughing fellow rover, and quiet sleep and a sweet dream when the long trip's over.
Sea Fever by John Masefield. I must go down to the seas again, to the lonely sea and the sky, and all I ask is a tall ship and a star to steer her by, and the wheels kick and the wind's song and the white sails shaking, and a grey mist on the sea's face and a grey dawn breaking. I must go down to the seas again, for the call of the running tide is a wild call and a clear call that may not be denied. And all I ask is a windy day with the white clouds flying, and the flung spray and the blown spume and the seagulls crying. I must go down to the seas again, to the vagrant gypsy life, to the gull's way and the whale's way, where the wind's like a whetted knife. And all I ask is a merry yarn from a laughing fellow rover, and quiet sleep and a sweet dream when the long trick's over.